I'm Megan, and thank you for practicing with me. It's a beautiful evening here. Things are quieting down and cooling down, and it's a perfect opportunity for me to fulfill the request of one of my patrons who asked that I do a video that would be a calming, relaxing practice to address sadness, particularly sadness as it's associated with grief. So that's what this practice is for if you need something a bit more mellow. And the purpose of yoga when we're working with grief is obviously to soothe and comfort, but also to keep the energy moving, that energy of sadness. We don't want it to get stuck. We want to be comfortable addressing it. So we're going to do a couple of different practices. We're going to start with a breathing practice called Mahat Pranayam, and then we're going to move into a gentle joint movement series. All of these practices can be done lying on the ground, seated, or seated on the ground or seated in a chair. So choose your position wisely, whatever's most comfortable. It's evening here, so I'm going to take the opportunity to lie down. So finding that comfortable position, feel free to use any pillows or blankets. I do have a blanket here, and I'm going to roll it up to put it underneath my knees just to give my backside a nice relaxing position. And settle in and just feel your natural breath. Let your state of awareness come into wherever you are right now. So we recognize that grief has an obvious emotional component, which generally is sadness, but there's other emotions associated with grief. It also has a physical component, particularly in the way that it may affect our heart and our immune system. And it also has a mental component. And in yoga, we can work with all of those. Take a moment and place your hands on your heart center. If you're in a position where you're feeling sadness because you're grieving, can you consider this an opportunity to explore your spirituality? Just ask yourself that question. And then you can continue to keep your left hand on your heart. Place your right hand down on your belly. Begin to breathe in a way that feels comfortable, but moves your abdomen up and down. So as you breathe in, you'll feel your abdomen expand and rise. And as you breathe out, just gently allow your abdomen to empty and come back in towards the back of the spine. Nothing forced or fake. Just feeling that rolling sensation in your abdomen underneath your right hand. And you can imagine as you're doing this that you're filling your pelvis up with each inhalation and emptying the pelvis with each exhalation. Then notice the position of your left hand on your heart center, on your chest. See if you can switch your awareness in your breath so that you're feeling more expansion in your chest as you breathe in. And allowing the chest to just naturally empty as you breathe out. Once again, the sensation of the rising and the falling. We've already begun to move the energy in our body. And then come back to the right hand. And at any time as we go through this breathing technique, if it doesn't feel right, you can go back to just breathing to the abdomen or just to the heart, or breathing your natural breath. Otherwise, begin to feel as if you're filling your body from the abdomen to the heart. So see your breath like a steady stream coming up your spine as it fills the abdomen, the lower ribs, middle and upper ribs, all the way under the collarbones. And just notice what that feels like to fill the body all the way around, the front, the sides, the back. When you're ready to release that breath, I'm going to ask you to empty from the abdomen to the chest, just as you filled. So the beginning of the exhalation takes us down into the abdomen, into the hips, almost like you're gently squeezing the breath out from the abdomen, through the ribs, the chest, and all the way into the collarbones. So we breathe in, filling from the base of the spine to the throat. And we breathe out, emptying from the base of the spine to the throat. This is the pattern of the Mahat Pranayama. And we say with emotions that our gut instincts are held down in the abdomen. We have a psychological sphincter in the rib cage that separates our abdominal cavity from our chest cavity. And on the emotional level, it keeps those gut feelings down in the abdomen. But when we're looking to process those gut feelings, we allow them to come up to the heart center on the inhale. And then imagine gently squeezing them out on the exhale. As if you can look inside yourself, feel your emotions, anything that's present in the abdomen. Allow it to present itself in the heart on the inhale. And as you breathe out, that energy of purification takes whatever you found out of your body from the base of the spine to the heart. And continue with this breathing pattern, soft and gentle through the nose if possible. There might even be a word or a picture, shape or a color that you associate with. Notice any constriction, physical constriction in the body as you do this. Is it easier to breathe into the front of the body, or do you feel your back body moving? Do your shoulders tighten, or your jaw, your throat? And every breath out is the opportunity to release the emotion and any constriction that might be caused by that emotion. You're welcome to continue breathing this way throughout the practice, or if you'd like to go into more of a natural breath pattern, please do that. Take your awareness down into your feet. Once again, the opportunity is also there to do this from a seated position. But bring your awareness into your feet and just begin to wiggle your toes. Keep everything else still. And if you want to move your breath, move your feet to this breath pattern, you might stretch the toes or pull them back or forward as you breathe in. And just release them to their natural state of being as you breathe out. Just the toes, left and right. So we say our toes are a grip into reality. Just noticing what it feels like, either moving the toes to your breath or just systematically letting them stretch and release. Relax the toes. Become fully aware of your ankles. And as you breathe in, you can stretch the tops of the feet away from your shins, or think of tightening the soles of your feet. And then breathe out and release. And go the opposite way. Feel the tops of the feet. Draw them towards your shins. And release. So we're simply flexing the feet to the breath if you'd like to do it to the breath. Inhaling into the sensation. and releasing and going both directions. Your awareness point is the ankles, though you may feel the soles of the feet, the tops of the feet, the shins and the calves. Feel everything that makes you feel alive and feels like moving energy. Then you can take your ankles around in circles. Think of the circle of life. Follow that pattern, perhaps both directions. So our ankles allow us to change our course, the direction that we're moving. And please relax your ankles. As we continue onward through this moving meditation, if you have something under your knees, you might want to remove it for a moment. We'll be addressing the knee joints next. So this is a gentle joint series for the whole body. So now feel your knee joints. And as you breathe out, gently bend your knees, slide your feet in. As you breathe in, extend out through the legs. And then breathe out, bend the knees, draw your feet in. So we can keep the feet on the ground and just slide. But think of initiating the movement from your feet, from your knees. If it's comfortable and you want a little bit more, you can take your knees right on top of your hips, feet off the ground, and go into extension up overhead, and then drop down. So see what feels right for you. Remembering it's always best to underdo with these practices. So I'm going to take my legs back down and just gently bend and slide. So being fully aware of any sensations in the knees. As we move in and out of the knee joints. The knees represent our buffer for reality. As we go through each joint and talk about the somatic significance of each joint, perhaps something will pop into your mind, and address that. Address it through your breath, through your thoughts. Notice it and let it go. Then we'll relax the knees. The next joint we address in the legs is the hips. So just visualize your hips, the entire circumference of the pelvis. Bend your knees, slide your heels in for this one. And then make sure your low back is supported. Again, you might be doing this seated. We're just going to gently move the hips in circles. Relax the lower legs. You can go in the same direction or opposite directions. Just fully aware of movement in the hips. So if both legs want to drop to one side, choose a movement pattern that is comfortable for you, is easeful, but create some sort of sensation that keeps you present in your hips. The toes and the ankles are relaxed, the knees are relaxed. So we said that the lower half of the body is our animal instinct. Right? Our survival instinct is the strongest instinct in us. And then the upper half is our thinking, feeling, spiritual being. So we've just addressed the lower half of our body. And then take the legs out to wherever it's comfortable for you. I'm going to go back to putting my blanket underneath me. Completely relax the legs from the toes all the way up to the hips. We're going to go into the hands next. So if you're lying down, you can just rest your upper arms on the ground, but feel your fingers and begin to open and close the hands. I really like to do this with the eyes closed. Just feel the sensation you create just by moving your fingers. You can open on the breath in and close on the breath out. You might still be doing that Mahat Pranayama as you breathe in. The breath fills from the base of the spine to the throat. As you breathe out, the breath empties from the base of the spine to the throat. It's like you can feel your hands just letting go of anything you're still holding on to with each breath out. That's what our fingers are. They're our fine-tuning tools for our reality. You can think of what we pick up, what we grasp for, and what we let go of. And relax the fingers. Come fully aware of your wrists. And if it's more comfortable to let your arms rest on the ground, absolutely do. Begin to make some movements with your wrists. Hands are relaxed. You can make circles, you can flex back and forth. You're just observing, keeping an open mind to however your wrists want to move. Similar to our ankles, our wrists allow us to change what we're reaching for, what we're grasping for. We can change the direction, what we want to hold and pick up. And relax your wrists. We'll move up the arms into the elbows. Feel your elbows and just begin to move your elbows. If at any point you feel pain from physical movement, know that these practices can also be done just in the mind's eye. So the moving meditation can be a physical practice or just mental. Imagine what it feels like to move your elbows. Otherwise, we're moving the elbows. Notice how the muscles in your lower and upper arm respond. The hands and the wrists are relaxed. Notice when your elbows bend in a way that your hands come towards your body, and when they go the other way, away from your body. That is the job of the elbows, to bring to us what we want and to push away what we don't want or feel we don't need. Think of all the ways your arms, particular elbows, will bend to hold something close to your heart. And when we're ready to let something go, release it, we extend the elbows. Let your lower arms relax. Release your awareness of your elbows and come into the shoulders. Fully aware of your right and left shoulder, begin to make circles or go up and down, your expression of this movement. So I'm going to come to a seated position just for a moment, because if you are seated, you'll find you'll get a bigger range of motion, but it's not necessary. You can also use the ground. You can push into the ground with the shoulder blades and pull away from the ground. Keep the arms relaxed from the fingers all the way to the shoulders. Just let your shoulders roll around. You can switch the direction, be playful if you're feeling that. So the shoulders are protectors of the heart. They often, we say, they bear our burdens. We use terms like just let it slide off your back and your shoulders, right? That's part of that. So we want to have strong shoulders for protection, but also keep them moving. We find that with grief, we get into that hunched position to protect the heart. So we want to be able to take the shoulders in all directions. And then allow your shoulders to relax. Next, we become aware of the neck. The neck is another psychological sphincter. It's the connection point between the heart and the head. So our emotional, feeling self and our spiritual higher self. Start by just gently bringing the nose towards your collarbones as you breathe in, and then release to center as you breathe out. And you might also want to bring the nose away from the collarbones as you breathe in, and release to center as you breathe out. It's like a gentle nod, yes. And the movement is only half of the purpose of this practice. It's what you're saying to yourself. Can you imagine opening the flow of energy in your throat to allow the heart and the brain to speak freely to one another? What is the heart feeling? And what is your mind thinking? Without judgment or a need to understand. You can also change your movement pattern of the head. You can go side to side, from shoulder to shoulder. Just enough movement to keep you present in your neck, comfortable and easeful. Can you keep your jaw soft, your eyes relaxed deep in the skull? Opening up this space between the heart and the head. Any way that it feels good. If you're lying down, you'll notice you have the support of the ground underneath the skull. Let your head roll back, relax at its place of center. There are many different spins on the Pawanmuktasana series, but the last one we'll do tonight is one more movement to address the psychological sphincters of your waist and your throat. It'll be similar to a cat-cow, so if you like cat-cow better, you can come onto your knees and do that. I'm going to remove the blanket and show it from the ground, and I'll also show it seated. So feet are on the ground with the knees bent. As you breathe in, gently press the tailbone and the shoulder blades into the ground to arch your back and take your chin away from your chest. So feel the whole front line of the body opening up, the waist and the throat. And then as you breathe out, hug the thighs in towards your body as tight as you want to. You can tuck your chin towards your chest, and if you'd like, you can also lift the head up and squeeze into a little ball. That's the exhalation. We contract into a ball. As we breathe in, we expand the front body, throat, the abdomen, the waist. As we breathe out, we contract the front body and expand the back body. So if we wanted to do this seated, you could have legs in front of you crossed or wherever it's most comfortable. I usually bend my knees and place feet on the ground. Simply inhale and draw the shoulders back, heart forward, take your gaze up. As you breathe out, chin towards your chest, around the spine, and draw in. And if you want to draw the legs in even, you can really squeeze in. It's an option to extend the legs if you're doing it seated. And draw in. So just taking your spine through these full body movements of flexion and extension. Continue to think about that breathing technique, the Mahat Pranayama, and the ability to expand from the abdomen all the way through the throat. And then as you breathe out, empty from the abdomen to the throat, like you're now literally squeezing everything out. Anything that might be stuck in your body that no longer serves you. Take your last few movements to your breath. Enjoy. And then if you've been seated for this whole practice, please join me on the ground. You may want to use, I have 2 blankets here, so I'm going to use one underneath my knees. But it's really nice when we're working with sadness and grief to feel as comforted and secure as possible. I'm going to take a Savasana, relaxation pose. So any props, if you like a blanket underneath your head. I'll take my hands out. I'm going to continue to address that Mahat Pranayama for a moment with right hand on the belly, left hand on the heart. Breathing in as if you're filling your spine from the bottom to the top. Breathing out and gently encouraging any constriction, any negative thoughts, any negative feelings to come to the surface and release from the body. In dealing with sadness that's associated with grief, it's very important to recognize that these are normal, healthy emotions. Acceptance is first. And once we recognize that our emotions are healthy and normal, it begins to relax and heal the body. And in yoga, we take it one step further. We work through the mind. With sadness and grief, we often get stuck in the mind in a pattern of negative thoughts and worry and fear. In yoga, we have the kleshas, the 5 kleshas, and abhinavesa is the fear of death, the ultimate fear. Oftentimes when we're losing someone we love or something we love, because grief happens not just when we lose other people, but things, that fear comes into our body, into our mind. Just notice for yourself right now, is there any sort of fear? As humans, we have the ability to override that natural fear instinct that's in our reptilian brain. Take a moment to be present in your thoughts. Can you create a reality of longevity, of health, of peace, acceptance, and non-attachment? We understand that it's not love itself that causes grief. In truth, love and grief are the 2 most common feelings, emotions in the heart. Love being the most common and grief being second. So the acceptance of the grief on the emotional level comes first. And then the opportunity to rewire, to re-engage our mind, to understand that it's not the love itself, but the attachment to the things we love that is the cause of unhealthy grief. As difficult as it is, we begin to accept our own impermanence. Before we close this practice, wherever you may be, accept it. Come back to that question I asked you in the beginning. Can you allow your experience of sadness and grief to be an opportunity to expand your spiritual awareness, your understanding that you're more than just your physical body, your emotions, your thoughts. Permanence that does exist at a higher level of understanding and being. That's where we know that even when we lose those we love, there is still love. Please feel free to stay here as long as you'd like. When you're ready to come out, it might be nice to take some full deep breaths in, invigorate and vitalize the body once again. Might begin to wiggle toes, fingers. Take a full body stretch. Be present in all those little sensations that are who you are. Take your time coming up. Roll to one side if you'd like. Pause on your side. Beautiful position to rest in. Feeling the protection of the front body. Back body and the back of the heart door open. Breathe into the back of the heart door. And in your own time, use your arms to bring yourself back up. This may have been a difficult class and process for you, but again, I encourage you to understand that grief is normal, sadness is normal. The feelings, the emotions are all part of what we all experience as humans when we feel losses. What these practices can help us to do is to switch our mind to understand that the universe always has our best interest in mind, that our spiritual higher being is always looking out for us. And rather than thinking of ourselves as broken, please see yourself as whole and loving even through your grief. Peace, joy, love, and light.